Hello, this is Mary Collardita, and I'm looking at how to know God's will, how He reveals it through His Word, through His interactions with the people of the Bible, and how that can relate to us and our lives. What's His will for me? What's His will for you? So today I'm looking at 1 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. So I will read those first. Excuse me. When the time of David's death drew near, he gave these instructions to Solomon his son. I am going the way of all the earth. Be strong and be a man. Keep the mandate of the Lord your God, walking in his ways and keeping his statutes, commands, ordinances, and decrees as they are written in the law of Moses, that you may succeed in whatever you do and wherever you turn, and that the Lord may fulfill the word he spoke concerning me. If your sons so conduct themselves that they walk before me in faithfulness with their whole heart and soul, there shall never be wanting someone of your line on the throne of Israel. You yourself know what Joab, son of Zeruiah, did to me, what he did to the two commanders of Israel's armies, Abner, son of Ner, and Amasa, son of Jether. He killed them and brought the blood of war into a time of peace, and put the blood of war on the belt about his waist and the sandal on his foot. Act with all wisdom. Act with all the wisdom you possess. Do not let his gray hair or his gray head go down to Sheol in peace, but be true to the sons of Barzillai, who eat at your table, for they were loyal to me when I was fleeing from your brother Absalom. You also have with you Shimei, the son of Gera, the Benjamite of Bahorim, who cursed me bitterly the day I was going to Mahanaim, when he came down to meet me at the Jordan. I swore to him by the Lord, I will not kill you by the sword, but you must not let him go unpunished. You are wise, and you will know what to do to send his gray head down to Sheol in blood. David rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David. David was king over Israel for 40 years. He was king 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. Then Solomon sat on the throne of David his father, and his kingdom, or kingship, was established. Okay, I'm just looking at something. And I should probably have found that first. Sorry about this. Okay, now this is what I wanted to find. So now I'm going to read a summary. And once again, I would encourage you to summarize events that happen so that you just get the key points. And you can keep them in your mind and in your memory and in your heart as well. So this is a summary. This is David's charge, his admonition to Solomon. David tells Solomon to be strong, to be a man, and follow the Lord, keeping his commands and his laws. If Solomon does, he will prosper. And if Solomon's descendants do, he will always have a man on the throne of Israel from the line of David. Then David tells Solomon to deal with traitors, to use his wisdom to bring their gray hairs down to the grave in blood. David had said that he would not harm them, but his son is free to. Also, David said who Solomon should honor as having been faithful to David. Then David rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of David. He had reigned 40 years over Israel, 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. So Solomon sat on the throne of his father David, and his rule was firmly established. So when we're looking at God's will, this is about David and Solomon. And we know that David had made a promise to Solomon's mother, Bathsheba, that Solomon would reign on the throne. So that was God's will. That was a prophetic word that was fulfilled. So Solomon is told by his father to love God, to be strong, be a man. We don't know what Solomon was like. At least I don't. But I think of that, to be strong, to be a man, to follow the Lord and obey his commands and his decrees. That's David's will for his son. That's God's will for us. For us as fathers, for us as mothers, for us as children. To be strong, to be a man or to be a woman, and to follow the Lord and keep his commands. If we do, David said it's the promise of God that you will prosper. And if your sons do, and their sons after them, you'll always have a man on the throne of David. So that is a promise, and it is God's will. We know that as Christians, we have a man on the throne of David, who is, his kingdom will never end, it will never be defeated, and that is Jesus. So this is God's will. It doesn't say to be proud and defeat all your enemies. When it comes to David's enemies and to David's friends, those who were faithful, he gives Solomon a charge. And he says, they were traitors. Traitors will be judged if we are a traitor. Those who are treacherous will be judged. And he told him how to do this. He said, use your wisdom. Let me see what it says here. It was use your wisdom. And he says here, in terms of those who are his enemies, do not let him go unpunished. You are wise. You will know what to do to send his gray head down to Sheol. Now, this is what I'm thinking about. Where have you heard the connection between Solomon and wisdom? Once again, pause me, think about it, pray about it. Solomon and wisdom. Well, we know that God appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, ask me of anything that you would want and I will give it to you. And what did Solomon ask for? He asked for wisdom to rule this great people of yours. So that happens in chapter 3. So it was early on in the reign of Solomon. So we think about this, and I want you to think about it. David told him twice to use wisdom, to be wise. That must have stuck with Solomon, because he was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not wise. I don't know how to handle his enemies, or, it's easier to honor someone who's been faithful. But how you deal with enemies, I mean, David had a lot of enemies, including those of his own household. So it was God's will. See, God uses things. He uses the words of our mouth. I'm pretty sure David prayed for Solomon, prayed for all of his children. And he wanted Solomon to act wisely. Maybe David thought he didn't act too wise in some of the things that he had done. And so he admonishes him to be wise, to follow after God. And so we think about those things. God will place in our hearts the things that he wants us to do and to become in him. So he, later on, Solomon asked for wisdom, and God's very pleased with this. He probably had planted it in his heart, because we know David said these things. So I'm not going to belabor the point, but think about in your own life, whatever you feel admonished to pray for and to be, or what others have said to you about what you should be, or how you should act, or what you should pursue. Those are all things that God does to fulfill his will in our life. So tell me what you think about this. I'd be interested. And pray. So I want to say something about prayer. Prayer is talking to God. When we rise up, when we sit down, when we lie down, when we go out, when we come in, and whatever we do, we acknowledge the Lord in all things and pray to him. And then look for an answer. Look for his wisdom. Follow our steps, and be confident that it is he himself who guides our steps and leads our path, just like he did David and just like he did Solomon. If we seek to do not his will in terms of forgiveness and kindness and love and mercy and justice and truth. Okay, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you like.